Cheers, guys. So I'm going to be doing a reading of an SP success story today. And I think it's good because it resonates with everything I talk about. It's a holistic approach. It takes into the fact your physical body, your physical emotions, that you're a human being. And it's not all just mind stuff that I think a lot of people get very into when they go down the rabbit hole that is the law of assumption, that is manifestation in general, the way that it's talked about in today's day and age. So I'm going to read it and we're going to talk about it. Let's get to it. So here it is. So the ladder technique, how I reunited with my SP using the law of assumption. I've been with my SP for almost 2 years before she abruptly ended things this spring. The breakup left me heartbroken and confused, though I understood it was partly due to us being in different places in life. Initially, we had some contact, but while she seemed happy and exhilarated, I was in total pain. When we met, she appeared cold and distant, which made me realize I had to step back. Meeting her while missing her only intensified my sense of lack. And that's a key thing, is that when we are in a lacking state, we are in a repellent state. You feel lack, you feel need. Imagine going up to somebody and telling them, I need you. I need you to feel okay. Imagine somebody doing that to you. They come up to you and say, I need you. I desperately need you. I cannot feel good unless I have you. And I need you to validate me and my existence. And I need you. And I'm going to place all of my feelings and all of that is going to be your responsibility now. That's essentially on an energetic, of course, nobody's going to come out and say these things. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. But on an energetic level, that is what's going on. When you're operating from such a sense of need and desperation for this person in this example, this can also be for situations. It can be for money. It can be for certain circumstances. But it is a very off-putting energy. And as much as we tend to believe that we want to be pedestalized, granted, it does feel good to get pedestalized. To some level, it does feel good. But if you really take it to an extreme, it's like imagining that this person is like almost like dangerously reliant on you. Does that feel good, that somebody else's emotions are totally your responsibility? Like, no, it doesn't. It's very off-putting, regardless of whether you are male, female. It doesn't matter. If somebody comes to you in this such a desperate state of lack, it's not going to make you attracted to them. I know it's like easier said than done. What I'm saying probably sounds like common sense, but if you just think about that in your own life, that if somebody came to you with that type of energy, because nobody wants to feel, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure to feel that this person is putting so much pressure on the situation and making you out to be this kind of fantasy that they have in their head that you're going to solve all their problems. Nobody wants to be put in that pressure type situation like that. Okay, so I began focusing on the basics. This is where we get into the nice part. I talk about this a lot in my videos. Calming my nervous system. Through breathing exercises like Wim Hof, cold showers, eating healthy, sauna sessions, and regular workouts, I built a foundation of recovery. These habits made the heartbreak tolerable and prepared me for the next step, assuming and visualizing a better reality. Some of my favorite teachers on here that talk about the law of assumption or talk about these ideas acknowledge your physical body, because if you have the blind denial of your physical body is only going to cause problems for you. People want to go off in these ideas about, that it's all in the mind, literally. The mind is what is creating. The universe is mental, but we are also in this physical body. So if you are, extreme example, drinking yourself to sleep every night, how easy of it. You think it's going to be easy for you to be in the state of in a positive state where you're going to attract positive circumstances in your life? Like, of course not. So even something as simple, if you're eating trash food all the time, if you just have like a completely messed up sleep schedule, you're abusing different substances and stuff. It's really, these are very foundational things. And people in this manifestation community want to believe, they want to throw all the common sense out of the window and just cling to this idea. But the fact of the matter is that Neville Goddard himself died from alcohol poisoning. Abdullah, I think, also died from alcohol poisoning. So regardless of how deep you get into these concepts, you still exist in a physical body. So it's just an important point to bring up here. And like I said, my favorite creators, Dylan James comes to mind. Life by Lucy comes to mind. Even the creators that you watch, like, that have been more recently gaining popularity, they go to the gym. They talk about it. They have a routine. They eat healthy. They even some of them even talk about what supplements they're taking. They all acknowledge it. And even if they don't talk about it actively, it's something that they do, right? Anyways, applying the law of assumption slowly, I introduced meditation and techniques to assume better feelings and outcomes. I stuck to my routines, even on days when the pain felt unbearable. Knowing persistence was key. However, my neediness was counterproductive. Our sporadic contact made her seem colder and even disrespectful at times, which led me to take 100% responsibility for my emotions. That is what is attractive. When somebody is willing, like I said at the beginning of this, when somebody's willing to take responsibility for their own emotions, that's attractive. That means they don't need you to feel fulfilled. They're not relying on you to be this, like, you to constantly pour from you to fill their emotional cup. As soon as you get as soon as you can feel that's what's going on, you're like, okay, I'm good on this. Because nobody wants to be put in that position. Okay. From sadness to anger. A turning point eventually, my sadness turned to anger, a healthier and more empowering emotion. This shift allowed me to set a firm boundary with her, which surprised her but made her view me differently. There you go. When you're not coming from this place of desperation, this place of lack, you begin to start showing up and actively embodying behavior that is of that person. When dating coaches talk about go no contact, or they talk about, set a boundary or whatever, that's going from like an outside in approach. But they are giving you advice. Sometimes it's bad advice. Sometimes it's good advice. But in many cases, what they're trying to do is give you advice that is the behavior that a person that felt self-respect would naturally do. Some of these dating coaches are bad actors, in my opinion, and they completely teach like very manipulative things, which is like, they don't go by the golden rule, which is treat somebody as you'd like to be treated, or leave somebody better than you found them, which is what I would recommend. That's how I do operate when it comes to dating, or really anything in my life. Anybody that I come into contact with, I want to leave them better than I found them, right? And when you have that type of energy, again, that's something that hopefully, if people are discerning and they haven't just latched onto you in this very needy way, can tell. Definitely not always the case, as you can see from the relationships that people get into and how needy and desperate some people become. But the dating coaches that are operating in good faith, that's what they're trying to show you to do, is how to enact those behaviors that somebody with this self-respect, with this knowing that you deserve the best, that you are a worthwhile person, would naturally have. Because what you've been doing is putting out this desperation of this person who's constantly feeling lack, constantly feeling like your cup is empty, and so you need this other person to pour from their cup into your cup, and it's unattractive, right? So this surprised her but made her view me differently. Anger gave me the willingness to walk away, a critical step in breaking the cycle of desperation. That's exactly right. Letting go, the courage to move on. Despite my efforts to assume better outcomes, I realized I had to let go. I started visualizing a life without her and assumed the feeling of living life fully, even if it meant losing her. Letting her go required courage, but it brought a sense of neutrality. This is such a good line. This alone, this whole success story is beautiful, but this alone right here is worth me recording this video, because I just did a video, I'll link it above here, where I take you through a process that is exactly what this person described right here. It's, you have to imagine your life without this person. I even use this same example as the SP. You can use it for other examples, but let's just use this example. What you want to do is you want to imagine, this is how you enter that state of neutrality. People ask me about this. This is one exercise, powerful exercise you can do. And it worked for this person, and it's worked for me, it's worked for other people. Imagine being single. Imagine that years of your life go by and you're single, but you imagine that you make the best of it. You know, you work on your projects. You have your own things going on. You are living life. You go out with friends. Maybe you travel. Maybe you, work on a business that you're putting together. Who knows? Whatever it might be. But you imagine that. Maybe a couple years, 5 years, go down the line, and you're living single, but you are living a life that you feel good about, you feel content about. Okay, so what if it happens? What if the worst imaginable thing happens, that you never manifest love? You never find a partner. Some people go through their whole lives and are unable to find love. So accept it. When you come into this acceptance, it dissolves its emotional charge. You are able to enter into a state of neutrality. You imagine now the good outcome that you want. And you alternate between these. It's a practice where you alternate between, you imagine that you don't have it and you imagine that you have it. You imagine that you don't have it and you imagine that you have it. And by doing this and doing it over and over again, mentally alternating between the two again and again, emotionally alternating, you're like, okay, if this doesn't ever happen, okay, life still goes on. I'd still prefer this thing, but I don't need it. I don't have that craving, desperate, lacking energy about it. That's one powerful way to enter into that state of neutrality. As I reached neutrality, things began to improve. I lived my life, started dating, and found myself noticed by other women. My communication with my SP became easier because my priorities had shifted. For the first time in months, I felt optimism and abundance. That's what you want. That's what all of these manifestation Neville Goddard stuff is all about. You need that sense of optimism, that sense of joy for life. All of these teachings, that's what they talk about. If you can develop that sense of awe and wonder again, and that life is getting better, that life has more to offer, that good things are coming your way. It doesn't have to be living from the end. You don't have to be so strict and dogmatic about this. Give yourself a break from the shit that's not helping you or that's encountering resistance. If you just observe your reality and you're contented with it, with your current 3D, while still giving yourself what you want in the 4D, you imagine that you have love. You imagine that people are respecting you. You imagine that you are just so attractive and magnetic, and everywhere that you go, people are singing your praises. They're complimenting you. People are asking you for advice, that how have you become this person that is just emanating greatness in everything that you do? And greatness flows from you, even in the smallest acts, even in something as simple as the way that you speak to the cashier, the way that you treat the service person. Everybody just you have this warmth that you're emanating, and you are great in whatever capacity that you are in your current 3D reality. The 3D will have to begin to reflect this new version of yourself that you are becoming. That is the way that this works. So your energy is going to expand into this bigger man or woman that just emanates greatness in whatever it is that you do. The way that you do something is the way that you do everything. And when you do the very best that you can in your current position, the very best you can with your current friendships, and you're constantly overflowing, your cup is overflowing, and you're giving this of yourself in this way where you are just expansive and generous, a generosity of spirit there, it's going to begin to reflect. So he said, the emotional state helped me get out of desperation, allowing abundance to flow naturally. That's what I've been talking about lately. You get out of that state, you stop blocking all the negative self-talk, all the limiting beliefs and garbage going on. I have the feeling of satisfaction. I have the feeling of relief. I've given it to myself. I know that I'm a divine being. I claim that divine energy that flows throughout me. And I know that it's abundant. There's an abundance of everything, an abundance of opportunity. There's an abundance of wealth around me, an abundance of love. And I know that good things are on my way. I know that I'm giving, and the law of reciprocity is going to start kicking in, and it flows naturally. That divine source energy begins to flow out through you. Out of the blue, my SP called, begging me to come back. I seized the opportunity, and now she's more devoted than ever. Things are better than they were before. What I learned through this process is that emotional leaps are not realistic. You can't jump from desperation to abundance overnight. This is what people try to do by applying the very dogmatic Nevilism approach. And therefore, people encounter more resistance and they have trouble to get these things to work. Instead, I climbed a ladder of feelings from desperation to sadness, to anger, to courage, to neutrality, to willingness, to finally abundance. Each step was better than the last, and understanding this progression transformed my heartbreak into personal growth, turned his pain into power. Final thoughts. The key takeaway is to approach the law of assumption with patience and self-compassion. That is what so many people are missing that are studying this stuff. And when you have these words that thrown around like persist and live in the end and the law, that's what makes people have this kind of strident energy. Whereas what you really need is this compassion, like this person's saying, this patience and compassion. Because if you are operating from the law, you believe this has to be, it has to conform. All these very rigid words that are tossed around in this community, right? And when it doesn't conform, why isn't it working? Why isn't the law? The law is infallible. Why isn't the law working? And now you compound the problem. Now you're running into resistance, guys. Instead, things aren't working. It's okay. This is all a part of the unfolding. Oh, SP says they don't like me. Oh, it's part of the unfolding. I can reframe it. I can even use ChatGPT to help me reframe this. I can reach for a better feeling thought. I can become abundant and whole and complete within myself. And I know that better circumstances are on the horizon. I don't even need this SP. I've already done the work. I've already neutralized this whole thing. I know I'm happily single. I would like to have a relationship, but I don't need a relationship. I'm not looking for a relationship. That's what worked for me personally. When I got out of the whole, pandemic stuff, and I went on a trip and I went on vacation, I had an intention, but I also told myself, I used the knot technique. I was like, I'm not really looking for a girlfriend. I just went out. I just had fun, just like this guy did. And lo and behold, I've met a few different girls, ended up spending more time with one of them. And she pretty much, she was the one that initiated everything. She was like, I want us to be exclusive, all of that stuff, right? It just happened because I wasn't going out desperately chasing for a certain outcome. So the progression, he's talking about the progression. That is what I'm talking about. That's what I talk about in my book. I talk about the process-oriented approach. I give you guys tons of different ways to conversate with yourself and have this self-talk that is coming from this way where your subconscious mind is not going to be able to resist you. You basically seduce your own subconscious mind into believing the stuff, the way that I tell you how to do it, because it's all process-oriented. It's all things are becoming more and more. It's all a way where you're using presuppositions, you're using the knot technique, you're using almost like embedded commands to basically hypnotize yourself into telling yourself this new story. That way you're not going to encounter any of this resistance that all this persist from the end type of thinking gets you. It gets you the resistance. So final thoughts. The key takeaway is to approach the law of assumption with patience and self-compassion. I recommend reading Power versus Force by David Hawkins. I've read that book as well. That's the book that people classically refer to with that scale of emotions that he talked about, and taking this progressive approach up that emotional scale, which explains these emotional states in depth. Applying his teachings helped me use this law of assumption effectively. Now I find it easier to achieve my desires and enjoy the process of manifesting my dreams. Edit, I wrote it all, but English is not my main language. I made ChatGPT fix the English. Okay, that's kind of aside the point. Top comment, you have no idea how much this post was meant for me. I was asking for an answer to this specific issue just today, and you provided me with a path through. Thank you. OP says, so good. I just had a feeling of wanting to write about this since I've been postponing for 3 months. I guess you attracted my answer. Glad it resonates so much with you. You're not alone in this, and I am certain that you'll overcome. And what I like about this holistic approach that I always advocate on my channel is it looks like from the success story, this person is sustaining a better result than what they initially had. They've written here that things are better than they were before. My SP called begging me to come back. She's more devoted than ever. Is that what you want? Do you want your person to be more devoted than ever and wanting, like, really from the depths of their being, wanting to work things with you? Is that, because that's what I would want. I don't want these, because a lot of these manifestation things that are prescribing the kind of the very, very Nevileism type ways is like, I manifested the SP back, but then they don't actually tell you what they did. First of all, they don't tell you where the relationship is. They just say that they got a text. Like, that's a success. As if getting a text is a success. It's not really it's not a success, man. So you manifested a text. Who cares? What you really want is a relationship. You really want the actual thing. So these people that go from this very dogmatic approach, they can get these results because some of these techniques work, right? But the thing is, if you're not doing this inner work, this person did the inner work. That's why they've reached an overarching thing that's going to be sustained. And even if it wasn't this SP, this person has become so attractive, his cup is overflowing, as I've said, that if he were to go out and let's say things don't work with this SP or whatever have you, even if something, whatever happened, his energy is going to be so attractive and magnetic that he's not going to have any problems attracting more women, right? That's where you want to get with this. You don't want to just, I manifested the SP, I manifested the text, and it's like, what? But the SP still acting the way that they did. The SP still giving you, still being disrespectful. In his case, he mentioned she was being disrespectful. The SP is still on the same bullshit that they were on before. So that's why it requires the inner work. And any of these people that come and tell you, you don't need to do inner work, you just need to affirm, you just need to live from the end, they're not, either they don't get it, either they're just saying and telling people what they want to hear, or they did do inner work, and so all they need to do is affirm because they've already done some sort of inner work. It's one of the two. Or they didn't need to do it. They just simply never had those types of beliefs or feelings, right? They never had the limiting beliefs to begin with. All right, just to finish this out, so I'll go over these last couple comments. So congratulations. Just wanted to know how long the process took. And you've made great progress indeed internally. OP says, thank you. I spent 2.5 months to get the SP back. The first was just survival mode where I worked on the basics. The last 6 weeks, I started taking my visualization and affirmation seriously after building the foundation I wanted. I'd be curious. I don't know if they mentioned what visualization or affirmations they actually use here. Bro, wanted to let it go, but I'm in the sadness and anger phase. Want to focus on other things peacefully so bad. OP says, just accept you're in those phases and try not to fight them. What I did when I was in your shoes, I tried to make a scene where I was letting go of her. It was hard to do so, but I found meditation on YouTube that I did every day for several weeks. That made me open myself up for new opportunities and believe in people and made the neediness subside a lot. he responded to another comment giving somebody advice saying, imagine yourself not thinking about him, and that someone mentions him and you say, wow, haven't thought about him in a long time. Anyways, or something like that. So somebody else asked, what did you do in terms of visualizations and affirmations? What was your routine? Unfortunately, he hasn't responded to that comment, but I think that we pretty much got a good idea of that anyways. He said a lot of it had to do with that exercise that got him to neutrality. He said that he imagined letting go of her, right? And so as counterintuitive as that sounds to what these people in the Neville forums talk about, that's what works. That's why what I say on here, I'm really, really giving out suggestions that for the most part, I've had personal success with in my life. I'm doing these readings and these breakdowns because everyone else has a different take on it. And it's great to hear how the same types of ideas that I've used have worked for other people. Like, for example, I haven't necessarily imagined letting go of somebody or something of that nature, but I've done this neutrality exercise that I mentioned in this video and used the knot technique in my life too with success in this area, in this relationship area. So I hope that this gives you guys a nice example, and this is a nice success story that gives you guys some encouragement with taking this holistic approach where you go in and you actually really do some of this work to detach, you do some of this work on the self-concept to make you so that you are overflowing, right? The cup overflowing. You can even have that imaginal act. You can even do a visualization on that. Imagine that golden energy just filling you up, that you are already fulfilled with this divine energy flowing through you. It's so much of it that it's just pouring out. And imagine that, like I said, imagine going into your day-to-day life and people just responding to you positively. These meta affirmations that I was talking about, like everyone loves me. People just are magnetically attracted to me. I have an irresistible energy, and I'm always giving people, the best of myself, the best that I have to offer into any situation. And just watch as the world reflects that. Watch as you become great in every single thing that you're doing. The world has no choice but to reflect that greatness back to you. Anyways, guys, much love as always. Drop this with a like. Let me know your thoughts down below. Hit me with subscribe if you're not done so already, and I will see you guys in the next video.